Hey folks, welcome to Comp 15 and welcome to VS Code. This is a great editor, IDE, integrated development environment, basically the same thing. And I want to show you a little bit around how to open files, manipulate files, how you're going to compile your programs, use the terminal, etc. This is a series of videos. In the next video, I'm going to talk about settings and configuration. And in the final video, I'm going to talk about passwordless login with remote VSH, which isn't exclusive to VS Code, but is especially helpful here. Note that in the next video, I talk in past tense about something in the first video that was slow and that I've disabled to make it faster. It's no longer the case since I'm re-recording this first video to do some Zoom cloud corruptions. But you will now be able to ignore that in the second one, is kind of the point. Let's get started. To navigate VS Code, it's just like Atom. We have a couple options on the side, and the most important is the File Explorer. Most of these have hotkeys too. So here are our files. If I have a directory that's empty, just clicking on it will produce nothing. If I have a directory with stuff in it, it'll open stuff when I click on it. There's nothing in my lab 0 directory, and I want to put stuff. I could add files from here, but it might just be simpler to do it natively in the way that we're familiar via the terminal. So let's kick off with that. To hide this, you can do Control-B. You don't have to hide it, but you can keep it open, keep it closed, whatever's easiest for you. Control-B also opens it. For Mac, everything I say with Control is just going to be Command. CMD. Control-Shift-P on Windows, on Mac Command-Shift-P opens the command palette. This auto pops up for me, but it probably won't for you. So you're going to want to search terminal, create new terminal, and one of the options will be create new terminal in active workspace. You really want this one. It might be a little bit more down here. You want to click this one. This creates a new terminal where you are. And voila, I have a terminal already SSH'd in. I assume Kristen's taught you everything about SSH. Notice that I am logged in via SSH. So now that we're logged in, we can create a terminal in the same environment. This is a fantastic feature of VS Code. If you don't use any extensions, no IntelliSense, no nothing, just using it for this is really great. You can do it in Atom, but it's much buggier and much slower, to be honest. This one works really well. Let's get started. So we're in our terminal, you have ls and whatever. Let's cd into lab 0. By the way, this is my pwd. As you can see, I'm just in my sort of 15 directory. And let's copy our files like we're familiar with. So cp/comp 15 files, and this is going to be lab 0. So cp, 2 arguments, target and destination. Destination is this directory. I could type out this whole thing, or I could just use the shortcut to my working directory, which is dot. Bang. Oops. I can't copy everything in lab 0. I got to just copy this. Or I could copy the entire folder using cp-r, but that's not the point. I just got to copy the welcome. Now we're here, welcome.cpp. Let's open it up. You notice now, if this hasn't refreshed, I can just refresh this. And now I've got a welcome.cpp. I can click on it to open it. VS Code is secretly kind of a wrapper for Google Chrome. So a lot of Google Chrome things tend to work. Control-W, Command-W, closes a tab. Similarly, just like in Chrome, if you don't know this one, it's great for Chrome. Command-Shift-T opens a recently closed tab. You can also just click the X. Any writes you make will be saved with Command or Control-S. Sometimes it takes a minute for the first file, but subsequent saves tend to be pretty quick. First couple times, sometimes a little slow. Now, let's close this file and open it a different way from the command line. You can just click between here and here. I set up a hotkey that tabs me between the two, but you can do that on your own time if you wish. It's easily documented online, or you can just ask me. Let's use the code command. This isn't something you can normally use on terminal, but with VS Code, you certainly can. Code, just like code in programming, welcome.cpp. I just use terminal autofill. If you aren't using this, it saves years of your life. Just type any number of letters such that the only possibility for those folders when you hit tab, would autocomplete to your target, welcome. If I had another file called warmup, I would have to do WE since I want to do welcome. Otherwise, it would say, which one do you want? When I press tab, it autofills. This is amazing. Not having to type out long names of files, especially when they get really long, it's amazing. Code, welcome.cpp. Enter. Here we are. It's opened it up here, and it's even put my cursor up here so I can navigate here. I can again close it, go back to my terminal, and be back in my terminal environment. Let's open it back up and make some edits. Same as Atom right here. Roger. What's the date? It's the 19th of 2028, I think. And here we have our environment. Include IO stream, whatever. You can include other stuff. it's going to highlight some of the keywords, like include the things that come after, using a namespace or sort of special C++ keywords. It'll recognize those. Int, return, it'll recognize strings too, quoted literals. If you want even better stuff, you can get an extension. My extension is sort of half gutted because I have been messing with the settings. But if you get this C++ extension by going to the extensions marketplace by either clicking here or Control-Shift-X will take you there as well, you can get this. Search C/C++. It'll pop up here. I already have it installed. You just have to click install. Now, I've mostly screwed with the settings like quite a lot. I'm going to uninstall it and reload the page so that I can re-get it and see if I can get it to work. Sometimes it takes a while. I do have a pretty old machine, so it can take a minute for this thing to kick in. Even though it's over a connection, it sometimes has to do some stuff on your end, and my computer is pretty old. All this you can more or less ignore. This is just like the default terminal output of when you log in. If you like looking at network and connection stuff, you can certainly look at this. But again, to create a new terminal, you just do Control-Shift-P, create new terminal active workspace. Alternatively, nice little plus here. Unable to watch your file changes in large workspace, largely don't have to worry about that. I just have a really big directory that I've cleaned in a while. So you can just hit the X. Sometimes you'll get little pop-ups like that, and often they're very helpful. Again, we're back here. Let's go to Lab 0. I now have this extension installed. If I go to C, actually, it's probably going to be under local installed. C++. Let's install it locally. Installing, and oops, totally just misclicked. All right, let's try one more time. Installing. There are a couple, this file directory, rename blah to this. All right, so it's going to do a couple things automatically for me. That's no problem. While that goes, I'll just show you the editor again. Do stuff, Control-S to save pretty fast, especially if you don't have its extensions enabled. What this extension basically does is, well, this might take a minute, so be patient if it doesn't work immediately, but it's going to take a second. But honestly, a lot of it, what it does is just fulfill things for C and C++, autofill them. So if I type for, sometimes it'll give me a menu for a for loop. I shouldn't say sometimes, I should mean all the time, 50% of the time when it is working. When it's enabled and when it's, sort of fully integrated, as you can see, it's sort of still installing. It'll work the whole time. Again, I have an old computer, so these things aren't great. But if your device is up to date, these things can be fantastic. I kind of like to get rid of it because it tends to make things for me pretty slow. So I'm just going to get it off. But you can autocomplete for loops. You can have fast function fill-ins. It can tell you the types of arguments. Mess around with it. It's a great extension. I'm sorry I can't show it off more here, but I honestly think the best way to do it is to explore it yourself. So I highly recommend it. If it slows your thing down, you can just get rid of it. No questions asked. And then you're back to being speedy. Here we are again. I think that's about it. Let's, I'll write a little bit of Lab 1 or Lab 0. Welcome to VSCode. If you're fancy, you can do a new line character. / means escape, so the next character or sequence of characters will be treated specially. This won't print as \n, but will instead print as sort of an enter return new line. Alternatively, you can do what you know has been taught and hit with an endl. Again, special things like return types, like integers, will be highlighted, recognized types. And that's that. That's more or less navigation. Again, File Explorer to click. Whenever you log in, it'll open to a certain directory. If you want it to open to a new directory, if you want to open a whole new page in a new directory, you're going to do code, and instead of a file name, you're going to hit a directory name. So say I want it to always open to my Lab 0 instead of always opening to my 15 items directory. I would do code Lab 0. This will open a whole new page, actually. I'm not sure if you can see it on screen sharing, but it'll open a whole new page that's just Lab 0. And then whenever I close and exit and open back up, it'll go right to there. I'm going to close that now. That's pretty much that. I think that's about it for the first tutorial. Everything else I'll be able to cover in the second one. A lot of great stuff you can do here. One extension I recommend that doesn't slow anything down at all. Two actually that are great. Rainbow brackets, really helpful. It just highlights your brackets in a really intuitive way, and it's especially good to see if you're nesting brackets. Really helpful. VSCode PDF just lets you view PDFs in VSCode. So if you don't want to pay for Adobe, or if you don't like their free version because they keep asking you to pay, this just lets you view PDFs. I'm sure there are PDF editors out there too. There are a lot of great extensions depending on your language. And this is a great app overall. Managing them and managing storage space when it tries to install a bunch of stuff, or when you try to install a bunch of stuff, can be cumbersome, but honestly not hard once you realize that that's what's happening. You'll just have to remove certain directories, and we'll have tutorials about that on our website. I'll see you in the next video.